When a woman comes back after hurting you, it's never because you chased her, convinced her, or explained how much pain she caused you. It's because something inside you changed in a way she didn't expect. Women can feel energetic shifts more deeply than anything you say. And the moment your energy transforms from desperation to detachment, from emotional dependence to inner strength, that's the moment she starts to notice you again. Not because she planned to, not because she suddenly became a better person, but because the version of you she thought she understood no longer exists in the same vulnerable form. This shift is quiet, but it's powerful. It's the kind of change that isn't spoken, it's sensed. When you begin focusing on yourself instead of focusing on her, the entire dynamic reverses. You stop waking up thinking about her. You stop trying to interpret her messages. You stop hoping she will come back. And in that moment, something in your energy becomes calm, grounded, and untouchable. That's the energy of a man who is finally reclaiming himself after being emotionally drained. That's the energy of someone who no longer needs validation, approval, or emotional permission to live his life. When you reach that state, she feels something unsettling, a distance she didn't expect from a man she once believed would always be there. Women notice silence in a way men often underestimate, not the silence that tries to make her jealous, not the silence that hopes for a reaction, but the silence that comes from genuine confidence, from acceptance, from emotional maturity. When a man is truly moving on, he doesn't announce it. He simply stops participating in the drama. He stops responding to emotional games. He stops trying to fix the unfixable. His silence becomes a mirror that shows her the truth about her own actions. And instead of chasing her, he begins chasing the best version of himself. That shift creates a question in her mind. Why is he so calm now? Why doesn't he care anymore? Why does he seem different? And that curiosity is the beginning of her regret. The irony is that you didn't change to get her back. You changed to get yourself back. You focused on your growth, your peace, your goals, your purpose. You stopped waiting. You stopped hoping. You stopped living in the past. And when a man starts rising like that, it naturally draws attention, especially from the woman who once took him for granted. She might not admit it, but she feels the loss long before she expresses it. She starts noticing your absence in the little things. No good morning texts, no checking in, no emotional availability. She starts wondering if someone else has your attention now. She questions whether she misjudged your worth, whether she pushed away a man she shouldn't have. And the more you level up silently, the louder those thoughts become in her mind. That's when she begins to circle back, subtly at first, a random message, a casual like on social media, a small attempt to rear enter your life in a harmless way, but underneath it is a deeper reason. Your energy has shifted so much that she no longer feels in control of the connection. But understand this truth clearly. She comes back because how your growth unsettles her ego, not because her love suddenly deepened. What changed was not her heart. What changed was your energy. And when a man becomes emotionally independent, emotionally stable, emotionally centered, he becomes attractive again, not to her specifically, but to the world, and she feels that shift before anyone else does. In the end, the only reason she returns is because you became a man who no longer needs her. When a woman comes back into your life after hurting you, it often has less to do with romance and more to do with the emotional contrast she begins to feel once you finally stop reacting to her actions. Key point two isn't about her missing you. It's about her feeling the shift in power. Before, she knew exactly where you stood. She knew you cared. She knew you were available. She knew you were trying to fix things even when she caused the pain. That gave her a sense of emotional comfort and control. But when you pull away, when you stop chasing, when you detach and focus on your life, something inside her starts to panic in a quiet, subtle way, not because she's afraid of losing love, but because she's losing the control she once had over your emotions. What she really feels is unfamiliar uncertainty. It's that moment when she realizes the dynamic she relied on is no longer there. The man who once cared so loudly now cares silently. The man who once reacted to every disappointment now shows no reaction at all. The man who once tried to hold on is now letting go without effort. And that shift makes her question everything she believed about you. She begins to wonder if she misread your loyalty, if she misunderstood your devotion, or if she underestimated your ability to rebuild your life without her. Women are deeply intuitive. They can sense the moment their emotional influence begins to fade. And that fading influence is what pulls her back in. not to love you, but to check if she still matters. When she feels you drifting away, it triggers the most primal fear inside anyone who once had emotional power over someone, the fear of becoming irrelevant. She doesn't want the door to close on her completely. She doesn't want to see you at peace without her. She doesn't want to witness you stepping into your confidence and independence because that forces her to confront something she never expected, that she's no longer the center of your emotional world. And once a man no longer places a woman at the center of his world, her value system shifts instantly. Suddenly, the qualities she took for granted begin to look rare. Suddenly, your kindness becomes meaningful again. Suddenly, your presence becomes valuable again. And suddenly, the things she dismissed as ordinary start appearing extraordinary in comparison to the men she meets afterward. Because here's the truth: a woman only returns after hurting a man when life shows her what she walked away from. She meets other people, she experiences other connections, she sees other behaviors, and slowly she realizes that the emotional safety, patience, devotion, and authenticity she once had with you isn't easy to find elsewhere. But she also feels something else. She senses that you're no longer waiting, you're no longer emotionally invested the way you were before. And that emotional distance creates tension inside her. It makes her curious. It makes her insecure. It makes her chase a small sense of validation from you just to confirm whether she still holds a place in your heart. But the ironic part is that she wouldn't feel any of these emotions if you hadn't stepped back first, if you had continued giving her attention, reassurance, and emotional availability. She would have never reconsidered her decisions. It's your absence, your silence, your growth, your emotional discipline that awakens something in her. It forces her to reflect on what she did, not because she suddenly feels guilty or deeply sorry, but because she realizes that while she was out exploring, you were out evolving, and your evolution scares her more than your heartbreak ever did. And that's the real reason she comes back, not because of love, but because your absence created space for her clarity. When a woman comes back after hurting you, key point 3 reveals something most men never notice. She returns because silence exposes the truth about her own emotions far more than it exposes yours. Silence is not the absence of communication, it is a mirror. And when you finally stop giving her your energy, she is forced to confront what she truly feels when no one is there to validate her decisions or soften the consequences of her actions. At first, she may feel relief, pride, even a sense of freedom after leaving you or hurting you. But freedom without fulfillment quickly turns into emptiness. And when there is no longer a man absorbing her moods, stabilizing her emotions, or pouring attention into her life, she starts to feel the weight of her choices. Your silence becomes a contrast she cannot ignore. It highlights how much space you used to fill in her life, space she never realized you occupied until it was gone. Women are deeply emotional and intuitive, and when they hurt someone who truly cared, that emotional echo catches up eventually. Not immediately, not loudly, but slowly in small moments. When she wakes up and doesn't see your message, when she faces a stressful day and there's no comforting voice she can rely on, when she feels lonely and the person she once pushed away is no longer available, these moments begin stacking up inside her, creating a kind of emotional pressure she didn't anticipate. And it's your silence that amplifies that pressure. Silence forces her to see the difference between attention and affection. When you were around, it wasn't just attention she was receiving, it was relief, it was consistency. It was a sense of being understood by someone who genuinely wanted her to be happy. She may not have valued it then, but she feels the absence now, and that absence makes her replay memories she once dismissed. She begins revisiting old conversations, small gestures, times when you supported her without expecting anything back, times when you made her laugh, made her feel secure, made her feel special. And as those memories resurface, this emotional fog she once carried begins to clear. She starts realizing the truth. She didn't lose a man who needed her. She lost a man who valued her. But silence also reveals something deeper. It shows her that while she was acting from emotion, you were responding with strength. You didn't beg, you didn't collapse, you didn't cling to her after she hurt you. You stepped back, you protected yourself, you chose dignity over desperation, and that choice shifts her entire perception of you. A man who can walk away from what hurts him becomes a man she respects, and respect is the foundation of attraction. So while she may have left with the upper hand, your silence takes that upper hand away from her. It forces her to view you as someone who isn't emotionally dependent, someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, someone who knows his worth even when someone else fails to recognize it. Silence also gives her the space to compare, and comparison is inevitable. Every new person she meets, every shallow connection she experiences, every emotionally unavailable man she encounters highlights the difference between them and you. She may not admit it out loud, but internally she feels it, that discomfort, that quiet awareness that what she once had was far better than what she believed. And that understanding grows stronger every time she realizes her happiness was never about the quantity of attention she received, but the quality of the connection she had with you. That's why key point three matters so deeply. Your silence is not punishment, it is a revelation. It shows her what life looks like without your presence, without your support, without your emotional consistency. And that clarity is what pulls her back into your life, even if she pretends otherwise. And that is why she returns, because silence didn't just change you, it changed her. When a woman returns after hurting you, key point four exposes the part most men never understand. She doesn't come back because of the past. She comes back because of the new version of you she witnesses in your silence. The moment you stop chasing, stop over explaining, stop trying to win her back, something profound begins to shift. You start operating differently. You begin living your life instead of revolving it around her. And even if she isn't in your world anymore, she can sense that shift. Women are emotionally intuitive. They can feel when a man's energy is no longer centered on them, and when a woman feels that, it creates a powerful pull inside her. Your silence allows you to rebuild yourself quietly. You start focusing on your purpose again. You become more disciplined, more stable, more grounded. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding logically. Your energy begins to elevate, your confidence strengthens, and your presence changes. You carry yourself differently, not with bitterness, not with arrogance, but with a calm self assurance that wasn't there before. And because she once had access to your heart, she also has a natural instinct to feel the shifts happening within you. Even if she's not in your life, even if she's not talking to you, she senses it. She feels the emotional distance, the new boundaries, the silent detachment. And that's what draws her back. A woman is not drawn to a man because he needs her. She is drawn to him because he doesn't. Your silence becomes the proof of that. You're no longer emotionally dependent. You're no longer acting from insecurity or fear of losing her. Instead, you're acting from a place of self respect. You chose to prioritize your emotional peace over her temporary presence. You chose to rebuild instead of chase. That kind of emotional discipline is rare, and she knows it. She didn't leave because she wanted to find a better man. She left because she assumed you would still be there, unchanged, waiting, holding space for her. But when she realizes you've outgrown the version of yourself she once knew, her curiosity transforms into desire. And it's not just your confidence that pulls her back, it's the emotional transformation happening inside you. You start valuing your own energy more. You begin recognizing your own worth. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop giving endless chances. You stop negotiating your boundaries. You're no longer the man she hurt. You've evolved into someone she now has to approach with caution. She feels the shift in power. She feels your absence not as a silent protest, but as a reflection of your new standards. And women are naturally drawn to men who carry themselves with strong emotional clarity. When you grow in silence, it highlights something important. She didn't just lose a partner, she lost a man who was becoming the best version of himself. And now she is left to question what role she could possibly play in your new life. She may pretend she's just checking in. She may act casual. She may even approach with a soft apology. But behind all of that is a simple truth: she's returning because the man you are becoming is far more attractive than the man she left. Your growth becomes the emotional gravity that pulls her back. She sees your peace, she sees your strength, she sees your distance, and she realizes that silence didn't weaken you. It rebuilt you into someone she cannot easily forget. And that's why she returns, not because of who you were, but because of who you became without her. When a woman comes back after hurting you, key point five reveals a truth many men overlook. She returns because the world outside your connection didn't give her what she expected, and your silence made that reality impossible to ignore. When she walked away, she believed she was moving towards something better, more excitement, more attention, more validation, more emotional stimulation. People often leave because they romanticize what's on the other side, convincing themselves that the unknown must hold something superior to what they already have. But life has a way of exposing illusions, and silence has a way of accelerating that exposure. While she is out exploring new connections, new conversations, new experiences, she begins to notice a pattern. The men she meets don't offer the same emotional depth, patience, understanding, or consistency that you did. At first, the novelty feels exciting, the attention feels fresh, the interactions feel different, but novelty fades fast when it lacks substance. She starts realizing that many men can give attention, but very few can give emotional security. Many can flirt, but very few can make her feel genuinely seen. Many can entertain her, but very few can be there when she is vulnerable. And as the contrast between the outside world and the connection she had with you becomes clearer, she starts to feel something unexpected disappointment. Your silence intensifies the disappointment because it forces her to recognize that while she is feeling the weight of her decision, you are unaffected. You're not asking for her back. You're not competing with other men. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply living. And that calm indifference triggers a powerful emotional response inside her. She realizes that while other men may offer attention, none of them are fighting for her the way she once wanted you to. She begins to miss the effort you gave, effort she didn't appreciate when she had it. She begins missing the emotional warmth you provided, warmth she thought she could replicate elsewhere. But most importantly, she begins realizing that good men, emotionally stable, respectful, committed men, are rare. As she moves through these new experiences, disappointment slowly turns into regret. Not necessarily regret about leaving, but regret about believing she could do better while assuming you would always be available if things didn't work out. Now that you are silent, she faces the consequences of that assumption. She sees that you are not waiting. You are not stuck. You are not holding on to her memory for emotional comfort. You have moved forward in your own way. And the more she sees your silence, the more she sees her own misjudgment. Your silence forces her to confront a truth she avoided. She overestimated the world and underestimated you. And this realization doesn't come in a dramatic moment. It comes quietly. It comes when someone fails to text her back. It comes when a new guy disappoints her. It comes when she feels lonely after pretending she is fine. It comes when she sees you posting confidently, living peacefully, focusing on yourself. It comes when she realizes that while she was busy seeking better, you were becoming better. And that emotional contrast, the gap between what she thought she would find and what she actually finds, pulls her attention back to you. Not because she suddenly loves you more, but because your absence exposes the depth and quality she once had and didn't recognize. She doesn't return because you were perfect. She returns because the world showed her how rare you truly were, and your silence is what made that truth undeniable. When a woman comes back after hurting you, key point 6 reveals the deepest and most uncomfortable truth of all. She returns because your silence forced her to face herself in a way she never expected. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to fix what she broke, you remove the emotional cushion she relied on. Suddenly, she is left alone with the consequences of her decisions, not just what she did to you, but what it exposed about her own insecurities, fears, and patterns. Silence becomes the teacher she cannot escape, and its lessons are far harsher than anything you could have said out loud. At first, she may avoid thinking about what happened. She may justify her actions, distract herself, defend her decisions, or convince herself that she had every right to walk away or hurt you. But silence has a way of dissolving these excuses over time. Without your emotional presence, without your reactions, without your support, she begins to confront pieces of herself she never had to acknowledge before. She starts to see where she acted impulsively, where she overreacted, where she failed to appreciate you, where she mistook your kindness for weakness. And because you are no longer there to soften the truth, her reflections hit harder, your silence becomes accountability, not by force, not by punishment, but by contrast. It shows her that emotional maturity means facing your mistakes rather than hiding behind ego. And as she watches you move forward, carry yourself with calmness and maintain your dignity. She is forced to see the difference between your emotional growth and her emotional avoidance. That comparison creates an internal discomfort she cannot ignore. She begins questioning her role in the breakup or the fallout. She wonders if she overreacted, if she was unfair, if she misjudged you, if she allowed temporary emotions to destroy something meaningful. This is the part men underestimate deep down. Women know when they've hurt someone who genuinely cared about them. They know when they acted out of insecurity or fear. They know when they let a good man slip away because of their own unresolved wounds. But they don't feel the full weight of it until silence removes every distraction. Silence makes her realize that you weren't the problem, she was. And that realization creates emotional pressure, a mix of guilt, reflection, and regret. She also begins to fear something else, that you may have outgrown her. That while she was stuck in old patterns, you were developing new strength. That while she was avoiding her mistakes, you were learning from yours. That while she was searching for validation, you were finding purpose. This fear, more than anything, is what pushes her to return, not because she wants to hurt you again, not because she wants control, but because she wants relief from the guilt and clarity your silence brought into her life. Silence forces her to look at the woman she is, not the woman she pretends to be. It shows her the maturity she lacked, the love she failed to reciprocate, the loyalty she didn't understand, and the stability she took for granted. And when she sees all of that clearly, she begins to feel something powerful, the desire to reconnect, not to take from you, but to rediscover the version of herself she lost when she hurt you. Your silence didn't push her away, it pushed her inward. And once she faced who she really was, she realized how deeply she valued the connection she once had with you. And that is why she returns, because silence didn't just reveal the truth about you, it revealed the truth about her.